4:08. It does feel, of course, like advertising is, well, it's been everywhere for a long time, but the avenues by which you can receive advertising continue to change and evolve as well. Some of the more traditional ones, buses, billboards, even places like the airport. Well, there have been a couple of different areas where there's concern about advertising. You probably think of fast food is one that comes to mind, junk food. But another aspect that's caught some people's eyes is social media platforms advertising. TikTok is running ads at a number of airports, including here in Adelaide, so you may have seen it. Some of those ads say things like, TikTok is helping Aussie teens fall in love with reading, with over 53 million videos shared. Or Aussie teens are getting outside with over 10 million fishing videos on TikTok guiding them. But there are people who have concerns about this advertising. Dany Elachi is the founder of the Heads Up Alliance, which is a parents' movement encouraging Australian parents to try and delay smartphone and social media use for children. Dany, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me, Nikolai.
So what are the concerns about these TikTok ads that are showing up at some airports?
Oh, we're concerned that, the audacity of companies like TikTok to suggest that they're fostering a love of reading or a love of the outdoors. It's far from the full truth of things. Any parent will tell you that their kids is spending many hours each day on social media, and it's just the height of audacity, I think, for them to be suggesting the exact opposite of that.
So you're saying you feel there's a real disconnect between young people using social media and also undertaking other activities?
Well, yeah. I mean, the suggestion that social media is encouraging reading, when we all know that our children today are reading far less than any previous generation, is, and many of us parents, look and understand that the reason that's happening is because of the absolute time wasting that's happening on social media. It's just feels like a bit of a slap in the face for parents to be told that in fact the thing that's taking their children away from reading in the outdoors is the thing that's encouraging them. It's a bit like I guess cigarette companies claiming that cigarettes promote lung health because they encourage deep breathing. It might be technically true, but it's not really the truth, is it?
Is there an argument, though, that, and this may well be the argument that some of the social media companies put forward, that if you're talking about young people going out for a fish, going fishing, getting into the outdoors, they might not otherwise have had exposure to that, and then they see a bunch of videos of fishing online that might explain how to do it, that it might give them positive exposure to subjects as well as some of the challenges that it presents?
Look, there's no doubt, as I said, there's no doubt that there's a grain of truth in what you've just said, Nikolai. But watching, because the average Australian teen now is 4 to 5 hours on social media every single day, and suggest that there's a net positive from that, because some kids occasionally might be encouraged to go fishing. When you weigh up both sides of the scale, it's not really a fair assessment of the big picture, is it?
Is part of your concern too around the timing around this? Because even today we've seen discussion around some of these social media age laws that are proposed to come in later this year.
Well, that's right. I mean, our concern is that this is TikTok and other social media companies ramping up messaging to try to convince, our lawmakers or other people who are in a position to say which platforms are in and out from this legislation, to try to suggest that, as an educational platform, that we should be exempt from these laws. We all know that TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, may be used for educational purposes very occasionally, but by and large, they're not used for those purposes. So, yeah, that is definitely a concern of ours.
So what would you like to see these kinds of advertisements have controls put in place around them, or for them, not to be allowed?
Oh, look, I don't know. I don't know that I don't want them to be allowed, but I certainly want parents to be, alive to what's actually going on, that this is a very slick PR campaign to try to convince us that what we're seeing with our own eyes and hearing with our own ears is not true. I mean, parents know what's happening to children across this whole country, thanks to social media. And we'd hate to think that some of us are being misled by such messaging, which is, obviously, put out there by some very slick PR marketing firms on behalf of these companies. And we just like parents not to be misled or bamboozled by such messaging.
Is it something that you think a lot of parents, and I suppose not even just exclusively parents, but grandparents or other carers as well, are becoming much more aware of or having some kind of almost literacy around?
Look, I certainly believe that over the last couple of years, especially, more and more parents and grandparents are starting to really recognise that some of these platforms have stolen our children's childhoods. We initially, they came with so much promise of connection and so on and so forth, but really what they've done is promote disconnection, real-life disconnection, disconnection from families, friends, all those real-life genuine relationships that children should be fostering, and I do feel that with the Jonathan Haidt's book that came out a year ago called The Anxious Generation, with movements such as ours, the Heads Up Alliance, that's encouraging parents to delay because of the various pitfalls of social media, that more and more parents and grandparents certainly are more alive to what's going on.
Are there positives though as well? I mean, you've mentioned there that idea of connection. I mean, that's certainly one of the ideas, at least, that for some people these platforms can provide a form of connection, maybe to a kind of a niche interest group that you might not otherwise find around you.
Yeah, Nicola, I'm not going to deny that certainly are some positive aspects. But again, when you take a step back and look at the broader picture of what's going on in our children's lives, you have to reach the conclusion that there's so much more detriment that these platforms bring than the good that they bring. I mean, we could, again, going back to the smoking analogy, we could say that the smoking, can be slimming for some people, or that drinking alcohol, could, for some young people, lower inhibitions and make them more social. So we'd always find positives about anything. But when you look at the big picture, you realise that actually underage smoking, underage drinking, and perhaps getting on social media a little bit too early is way more detrimental than any good it brings.
Dany, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Dany Elachi, who's founder of the Heads Up Alliance, a grassroots parent movement, as we've heard, trying to encourage parents and other carers to try and delay smartphone and social media use for children. As I mentioned, this is an ad that is running at Adelaide Airport, amongst others. We did reach out to the airport and received a statement from them. They said advertising at Adelaide Airport is managed by a specialist third party with all advertising content reviewed to ensure compliance with legal requirements and industry standards. The airport's advertising policy prohibits advertising related to gambling, political messaging and advertising with adult themes. 4:17 is the time, 891 ABC Radio Adelaide.